the guests will tell us, like, man, this random guy out of nowhere said he saw it, and it's like, like, yeah, and the main goal, I think, more than anything, and I think that's the same things y'all were probably trying to get to, was just sharing the content, just sharing people that might be like-minded, and my main goal is just for them to understand that someone from Conroe that knows you, that you see at the gas station, is able to have a business, build a business, grow. You go through failures, and I feel like a lot of times
Lots of failures.
a lot of times people feel like, well, I can never have my own business. I can never have my own restaurant. I can never be a fitness coach. I can, and it's
That's
like,
where they're making the mistake. They're already limiting themselves.
Correct. So then that's the goal, that they can see local people like doing it or achieving it. We had that boxer yesterday or last week. And he's from Conroe, and he's got a pro fight already, and he's working his way up. So
Heck yeah.
I think that's the main thing. And for me, it's just, I learned a lot. So people can learn from me.
Yeah. Too many people, especially in the social media age we're in right now, they start talking about, or they only share the positives and the now versus talking about the steps that it took to get there.
Correct.
And the things that they learned from along the way.
Correct. And I think sometimes people don't want to hear what you went through. Sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. They just want to see the success. Like, oh, you were here, now you're here. It must be easy peasy.
Well, people hope it is, right? But I mean, I think a lot of people also want it to be that way. Right. They want the instant gratification.
Right.
They want the conveniency of things. People try to stray away from, oh, this is going to be hard. And that's a big part of life.
Yeah, but it is going to be hard. So like last week I said something on my social media where it's like, sometimes entrepreneurs or whatever you see on social media with the Lambos, and they have this easy, cool life. But I'm like, it's not that easy. Like, it takes a while. I'm like, I'm not even there, but it takes a while to get there. So I think a lot of people are like, oh, let me just go run and do a business. Like, it looks easy on social media, and all these people you follow and all these stories you see seem easy, but you're going to work a lot harder than you just working your 9 to 5.
Yeah, you are. Most of the time you're going to be working more than 9 to 5, especially at first.
Right.
And a lot of times that's not their Lambo.
Correct.
Right. It's like they leased it from somewhere, or they borrowed it from somewhere for
Don't
someone.
tell me that.
Or they parked in front. They parked in, like they are using it while people aren't there.
Yeah, right. Wow, the guy went into.
Yeah. Well, welcome back, guys. We're here live with another episode of Living the Dream with Ray and Luis. On today's episode, we have a special guest, Tyler. How do you pronounce your last name?
Coibion.
Ray and Luis. Coibion. Yeah, it's a cool name.
Thank you.
That's
owner of the OC and owner of
Stretch Fire Ice.
Stretch Fire Ice. Relax,
It is.
heal, and perform. Something that everybody forgets about is to relax and to heal, because everyone's always go, go, go.
Very much. They're very imbalanced that way. A lot more working out versus working in.
Oof, I like that.
What is working in?
Things that are energy restoring versus working out is energy draining. Easiest way to simplify it.
So what would be a couple of things that are like exercising is, weightlifting, working out is like weightlifting, resistance training, cardio. What would be working in?
Nutrition, breath work, stretching, fascial work, things of that nature, meditation.
Oh, everything that I don't do.
Things that most people don't do.
I think we mostly don't do that, and I think that's what I've been trying to do, and what you guys have been trying to tell me, to rest more and relax more. But it's hard. I mean, a lot of your patients or clients, is it hard for them? Is it like them not like they know how to work out, and then they're like, why are you telling me to stretch? Why is that important? Why do I have to relax and heal and get into the sauna or get into an ice bath?
Why are you telling me to breathe? I know how to breathe. I'm alive.
All right. Okay.
But most people don't know how to breathe properly. Yeah, it's very tough for people. Even like, I'll give you for instance, even just in on how tough it actually is, from the rest interval between exercises. So many people don't take an adequate amount of rest, especially if their goals are strength or growth oriented.
Right.
Then they're looking at like 30 seconds. They're like, no, it's been a minute. No, it hasn't. Because their mind's constantly going. And I think we were talking about it before we aired. It's just work.
Right. Right, right. But that's what this you go there to get that work, and I feel like if you're sitting, at least me before, right? It was like if you're sitting, then I'm not doing the work that I need to. I'm not tired. I'm not sweating. I'm not exhausted. So I need to keep going. But you're saying no, like take your minute, 2 minute break in between sets, in between just
It depends on
the
what you're
goal.
trying to get out of it, yeah, for sure. But the majority of people are going to benefit from a longer duration of rest, somewhere along the lines of anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes, especially if their goals are strength, growth, and things like that, and speed and power.
Yeah, we've been debating like what's the optimal, and so we usually do like a bodybuilding regimen where it's like, different body weight, different body part throughout the week, and then we do a low intensity cardio, which is, incline, treadmill, something like that. But well, he does a little bit more of a powerlifting workout, um, but he used to do like 1 minute
30
resting.
seconds.
Oh, 30
30
seconds.
seconds was like, it was mainly because like all last year I worked out with my wife. So it was like I went, and then as soon as she was done, it was me again. And then as soon as I was done, it was her again. So, I mean, when you're doing the sets of 8 or 10 or 12, I mean, the fastest you're doing or the slowest you're doing is 30 seconds, 45 seconds doing the workout. So then it was just like, and then the 30 seconds to go set up the next one. That was.
Yeah, so we were debating whether it was like 30 seconds, a minute, or 2 minutes. And the literature that we read was said, 2 minutes was the minimum.
What were you trying to gain out of it?
Yeah, we were trying to gain muscle mass.
Then 2 minutes would be closer to the minimum. Yeah, the 3 would be more of the study approved ideal range for muscle growth and density, strength, improvements overall. But for cardiovascular endurance and performance, especially if you're trying to use resistance training as a method of that, then 30 seconds would be more along the lines of an adequate rest measure.
So I was half and half.
It's not really a right or a wrong.
Right.
It's just a more efficient
for. Gotcha. What the goal is and what you're really trying to accomplish, I guess, is the main thing. Because like Saturdays we do more of a hit, which is like we'll do 3 different workouts and just boom, 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 and then like 30 seconds or like a minute, and then go again, boom, boom, boom. So which means kettle swings, and then go into like jumping squats, and then do like ball slams, and then so that's Saturdays. Every other day, but this week was my first week where I was telling them I was taking at least a minute and a half to 2 minutes in between sets, and you can tell the difference between me doing like 8 different exercises to me doing 4 to 5.
Oh yeah,
and in that hour, because we go from 5 a.m. to about 6 a.m. So we have an hour span before we have to come back up here, but that's a big difference.
What time do you wake up?
every day at 4, except for days where I'm supposed to have somebody at 5. Then I'm waking up at 3. I texted you at 3 this morning.
Oh yeah, I didn't even see it until I woke up.
See,
6.
You gotta get up early, baby.
So what time do you go to sleep?
Usually between 8 and 10. So I have a pretty good night routine. Really good morning routine.
That's essential, right? Like the night routine is what helps you for the morning routine. Is that how you've seen it?
That's how I see it, and I also see it as it helps me sleep, so that way I can be at my best for the next day and for life in general.
Would sleep be part of that working in part?
Sleep would be, yeah.
Yeah, that's all those things are working in. It seems like that's part of what isn't taught in culture. Like that's not what
take care of yourself.
Yeah, that's not what produces money, right? In terms of like that's not marketable. Like Correct. Sleep more. That's not who's gonna make money off of that, right? Or like
bed companies.
Right.
Kind of.
Yeah, but it's like it's not like the go
it's not the
type
cool
of
thing.
environment.
Even the Rock says, I think the Rock says he sleeps 4 to 5 hours. And
he's 4 to 5 hours.
What's his name? Harvey. He's like, rich people ain't sleeping 8 hours a day. What are you doing sleeping 8 hours a day? Get your ass up and get to work. So, stuff like that pushes people like, I guess me, to be like, well, I don't need to sleep that long. I mean, I sleep from 10:30 to about 4:30. So what's that? Six, right around 6 hours. And that's a good day. But now I'm to the cycle because I did it all last year. So like I tell people, it wasn't always like that, right? So I used to wake up 7 or 8. But now that I've gotten into the habit, even on a Saturday when I have nothing to do, my body's up by like 7:30 on its own. I'm like, damn it, my alarm's at 9. What the fuck?
Dude, you're beating me, man. I'm waking up over here at 3:57 on a Saturday, and I don't have to. And it's just, like, well, crap. Wife wakes up, house is clean, laundry's done, everything's ready to go.
And you're like,
She's like, well, thank you. All my chores are done. Yeah, you're welcome, babe. Now
what do we do? There you go. But so you're averaging 6 hours as well, about
6, yeah, about 6 hours for sleep.
And you would say that's a good number, or just a reach for 8 is the goal?
It's individualized actually per person, right? So I was actually going to touch base on that. So a lot of people compare themselves to what would be considered, pardon, I don't have another word for the freaks of nature that get by with. Some people get by with 15 to 30 minutes of sleep, and some people get by with 3 hours. Some people get by with 4, 5, 6, all the way to 8. Some people need 10.
What does get by mean?
They're able to feel like they are performing very well throughout the day, and they don't feel inhibited or restricted by the lack of or overabundance of sleep in their life.
I heard a post that said that the percentage of people that can function under or at 6 hours of sleep is 0.
That's not necessarily true at all, because a lot of that comes down to genetics. So there are some genetic abnormalities that affect a very small population of people, and they are able to sleep for a very, very short amount of time. And that very short amount of time biochemically relates equally to that of somebody that is the genetic normality, where they're getting 8 hours of sleep. So when you look at them biochemically, they're having the same reactions getting 30 minutes of sleep as somebody that's getting 8 hours of sleep. So false post. Science.
Yeah. The population that would be very low, like the 30-minute sleep, would be very, very low population.
Extremely low. So is that of the people that are sleeping 3 to 4 hours, and without excess or extrinsic supplementation, getting by throughout the day without feeling a lack of energy.
But long term, how does that look long term for the 30-minute guy, the 4-hour guy, and the 8-hour guy?
I actually don't know. For the 30-minute guy, I know for the 8-hour guy, long term is great. And for the 4 to 6 hour people, long term, you would say that it's a negative effect on their aging process. But again, I'm not too sure on the studies that are out there and available as far as long-term studies go on people that are getting the 4 to 6. So many plays down to their genetics and their own personal biochemistry.
So even though the genetics and the biochemistry might be there, would it still be better to just tell them, hey, get your 6 to 7 hours regardless? For instance, me, I can get those hours and even a little less. Like last night I slept 5 and I wake up fine. That doesn't mean I'm doing fine, right? Like either, because one of the things with me is as long as I'm moving, I can go for hours. Once I lay down on the floor, I'm out for 2-3 hours, like instantly. But that's just who I've always been, even before business and before all this. Like it was just, I can go. But as soon as, if it gets boring, the situation gets boring, or I start yarning, I'm out cold. But so as I'm learning now, and we've had guests, and with them, I've learned a lot more. I've noticed, okay, maybe I'm functioning right, and maybe I'm still able to do it. But what does that look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, regardless of how I feel now? So what would you say? Keep doing the 4 to 6 hours, or like push to 7 to 8 hours regardless?
I wouldn't push to 7 or 8 hours regardless. I wouldn't say that, because then you'd be following a singular system, and we're not singular mechanisms as a human being. So if you're not experiencing negative symptoms, and I encourage you, and this comes into something that you typically realize as you start to rest more, meditate, and or just take more downtime to self-reflect. If you feel like you're not experiencing negative symptoms, why would you seek treatment?
Okay.
And look at increased sleep as treatment.
And a negative symptom would be,
if you're feeling exhausted throughout the day, if you're seeing a lack of progress with your exercise routine, that could be potentially that. If you're experiencing digestive trouble, headaches, anything along those lines, and many more. But if you're experiencing a negative symptom, then we want to look for treatment. If you're not, then same thing with blood work. Even if you fall out of range, I've had a client before, it scared the crap out of me. Came in and forgot to warn me that his resting heart rate was above 200. And I was floored.
Wow.
And he said, no, really been this way since I was a kid, yada, yada, yada. And done. Okay, well, sure. All right. It was a thing. So we're all
very
different.
high for 200. That seems very, very high.
Even for a rest rate, that's very high.
I might be getting 200 mixed up with 120.
Yeah,
Okay.
probably 120.
Apologies.
Okay, I was like, Jesus, this guy was having a heart attack almost. But
Yeah, so he wants to get blood work, but there's like nothing wrong with him in terms of like his he just wants to know where he's at in terms of like his hormonal stuff, his testosterone levels, maybe I mean, I'm sure he's got high cholesterol, but no, you don't.
No, sir.
Oh,
Not at all.
sorry.
My
Do you have
doctor
high
said I was good.
cholesterol?
No. My doctor said I was good. But see, so we've learned, right, that the doctor, I mean, what do you think? Doctor will give you a certain chart, right? And they, like you said, they probably put me on a singular method that says the chart says you're good. But if I go in a deeper and get a better specialist that might say, yes, you're normal, this range is normal, but you're like down here on normal. So then you need to figure out what you need to do to get in the middle.
So he's like on the lower range of normal, which, would be borderline bad. So it's like, what was your question? Like what?
Should I just follow what the doctor said? Or what do you recommend, like the doctors know? Or should I go deep and figure out exactly what my levels are?
So you can go deep and figure out what the levels are. Firstly, make the statement on blood work. Blood work is a great thing. You want to track as much as possible your health. Big believer in that. Not everybody has the financial capability to do so. So for those people, there are other methods that you would implement because they are cheaper and they are much more efficient for your health and longevity. As far as being on a lower or higher end of normal, again, I come back to following the symptoms and not treating the levels because everybody is different. And you might do wonderfully hovering on that lower end of normal. It's a range for a reason, and it's also an average for a reason. So remember that it is an average and that people do fall below and or above average, just as you know with business and or many other things. And don't freak out over the level. If you are not experiencing negative symptoms, why should you treat it?
Makes sense. But maybe I'm dying and I don't know. Maybe tomorrow I'll wake up and be like, oh, his heart was messed up this whole time and he just never checked it.
His heart was fine, but
get your checkups, right?
Maybe because my heart's always pumping, but I'm like, because I'm always doing stuff.
Probably trying to survive.
We use a company called Insight Tracker as far as to send people out for blood work, and that keeps everything monitored. It looks at your nutrient deficiencies, looks at your DNA if you want to, and looks at many different biomarkers, especially CRP or inflammatory markers throughout the body. So we're looking at different things to try to keep track and keep tabs. It's like $450 with our discount. You go through, if you want to do that, quarter annually, biannually, or annually, at least it's all in one spot and you can show that to your physician and keep track of it all. Then you get natural solutions to that as well as supplemental solutions, but we really push, these are the foods that you need to be eating more of. Gotcha. And we compare that to your DNA if you look at that as well and take the two, and this is actually your optimum versus everyone else's optimum.
Right.
So if you do it that way, that would be, because it sounds like you're really interested in doing things.
Yeah.
So then that would be the more optimal way to keep track of your health from a blood work perspective.
Yeah, that way your insides better.
Yeah.
Like you know yourself, because I was gonna say yourself better, but I said your insides. Like yourself better, right? Like your blood, your blood work, your
what
DNA,
my body's asking for.
Right. And okay. Because sometimes it's like a lot of like superstitious stuff that we understand that we try to bring into our reality, like, oh, that might be bad for me because everybody says it's bad for me, or
it might not be,
right, like cultural stuff like, oh no, don't eat that's bad for you, but in reality you don't really know until like you do the blood work, you do the research, and then you figure out, okay, that's actually just normal, or there is something wrong with me, but
I think that's the main thing, especially like as coming from a Hispanic background, right? It's like, as long as, it's kind of what I'm getting, it's like, as long as you don't feel nothing, you're fine. But we tell our parents or whatever, like, no, but go get checked. No, I feel good. But you don't look good. You're overweight. You got that double chin. No, but I feel good. So it's kind of like, so at that point, when do you make them go, or anybody in general? Because right now you were saying as long as you feel good, then why treat it? But what if you don't look good? Or how do you know when you really feel good? Or are you lying to yourself?
So if you don't look good, and also take an overview of your habits and look at, are you performing healthy habits, right? So you express that you exercise. We didn't talk about your nutrition or what you eat and when you eat and how you eat and all that fun stuff. There's a lot of aspects that come into health.
Right.
And if you're not looking good, let's say that you were 30 pounds heavier.
Yes.
I knew you didn't exercise, and you looked tired, but you told me you weren't.
He is.
Well, you could be fooling yourself. And a lot of times we do, right? Just like when we eat, our taste buds are desensitized. So we don't know by taste. You can taste things once you resensitize your taste buds and say, well, this is actually going to be great for my body. This will work well with my gut. Or as soon as it hits your tongue, you might say, shit, get this out of me. I'm not eating that. This is going to fuck my tummy up.
Yeah.
And we're awesome creatures that way. So a lot of times, you need to help resensitize people to their own body. But by looking and taking an overview of their habits, you're able to figure out whether or not you need or should do so or not.
I like that. I like that the habits is where things come from, right? So it's like, from my understanding, like habits aren't ethical. Like they don't care if it's good habit or a bad habit. Like they just are.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like up to us to determine what are good habits and bad habits, because like either way they're gonna be there. Correct. Right. So it's like replace the bad ones with the good ones, because they don't know what's best for you. Only we know based on our, rational thinking. But like, a lot of addicts, like they replace like a lot of smokers, they replace like, smoking with chewing gum, or I've seen some people, replace it with like rubber bands or things like
something
that.
to get them out of it. Yeah, like some customers from for me would be like that. Like they're trying to stop smoking, right? So they'll be like, they don't know if it's the fact that they're smoking that's what they need, or if it's the fact that they just need something in their hand that just does that movement. So a lot of times I'm like, try a disposable, right? It's not that it's still nicotine. You're still gonna get your nicotine in you, and that's 9 out of 10 is what your body wants. But you're at least cutting the tobacco and all the other stuff. And a lot of them will transition and then be like, all right, now I'm not smoking, but it's just something in my hand. And then we have some that look like cigarettes, and they're like metal, and you can just kind of hold those. And some people have come in and bought those and be like, yeah, it feels good just having it, and I just kind of play with it and hold it and keep doing my work. So it's like you said, it's just controlling that habit and figuring out.
Yeah, and those habits are what build your life, right? Like what you eat, how you move, how you exercise, how you breathe, right? Like how you breathe is very important. And extremely like you important. Said, we don't know how to breathe. Like we are living, we're alive, but go to a yoga class and try to do some poses as you breathe. You're gonna be like, okay, I don't know how to breathe, or try to meditate. You're like, I don't even know how to think.
I don't know how to clear my mind. Yeah.
Like I don't
know
how
do I not think?
Yeah,
right.
It's so hard.
And it's part of your habits, right? So tell me a little bit more about the stretch, fire, and ice. Like what is it that you guys do there?
So stretch, targeted tissue therapy, whether it be fascia, whether it be soft tissue, muscle, whether we're doing percussive therapy, whether we're doing any type of tissue work to help alleviate targeted areas of pain. And then fire would be sauna, and then ice would be cold plunge, cold water immersion, and then we use a traditional sauna so that way we can maintain certain temperature raises that are proven to be most official for contrast therapy.
And do they help recovery for like the next workout, or are they just on their own? Are they like the workout, so
this is not a program to replace exercise. Exercise is a whole subject of its own, and if people were to say, should I do this, should I go use a sauna, or should I do contrast therapy or stretch, fire, and ice, or should I exercise? You should exercise. Don't do this, do that. If it's between the two.
Okay, so you would say exercise is a little bit more beneficial than
yes.
So is it complementary? Like does stretch, fire, ice, I mean I'm just summarizing by the name, but stretching and sauna and ice therapy, do they complement the exercising, because I've seen, Joe Rogan does a lot of that, and a lot of gyms offer that, but they don't. It's not like well established. It's like do this and this at the same time. Like this should be your workout plan.
Yeah. This is how you should do this and when, and this is why.
Right.
Yeah. A lot of people are doing it right now. It is very complementary to exercise. It will help you recover faster. And there have actually been studies shown, we'll just use sauna use alone, because if you go to our website, you'll see something that's called Fire Up Your Growth Hormone. And you can actually utilize sauna to 16x your natural production of growth hormone, which is really, really cool, because a lot of people don't know that. And a lot of people, especially bodybuilders, are trying to look for this competitive edge. And we can help provide that competitive edge for professional athletes, amateur athletes, for bodybuilders, anybody that's trying to achieve that next level of fitness, and or those that are just simply trying to perform better in their business as a business owner, or people that are trying to de-stress and handle traumatic situations, PTSD, or anybody, or depression, or anything along those lines, or anybody that's simply trying to enhance their quality of sleep.
And there's studies that show that the sauna helps with those aspects.
The sauna, cold water immersion, the use of the two together, yes, and individually and together as well.
Together, you mean one and then the other?
Yes, depending upon what we're trying to achieve.
So is it like 15 minutes in the sauna and then you get out and then you go into the ice bath?
So for some, yes.
That would kill
So
me.
if we do, it's not as bad as you think. So there's a very, very popular phrase going around right now called the Soberg principle, where you go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, right? So the principle is 11 minutes a week of cold and 60 minutes a week of hot.
Right.
And so we'll do that all in one session, and then we'll go 3 minutes cold, 20 minutes hot, 3 minutes cold, 20 minutes hot, 3 minutes cold, 20 minutes hot, end on 3 minutes cold, and then we have this whole little relaxation experience afterwards.
Oh, so it's like a whole experience.
It's a whole
That's kinda
experience.
tough.
But
And the thing is, like, I hear a lot of people, so a lot of people will ask me, because I go to Silverback now, so they're like, does Silverback have a sauna? I'm like, no. Then it's because I need it. Like, it's not the same. Like, I need to work out and then go to the sauna. Or if not, it's not the same. And I'm like, I mean, I used to go to the one in the Woodlands, 24 hour, whatever.
they had a sauna, yeah.
Yeah, so I used to go there, and I would go to the sauna, but I mean, I would sweat more. So, I mean, it's probably hard to track now because I wasn't tracking. I was just lifting up weights and putting them down. So, so you would say that would be recommended if you're trying to either lose weight or build body mass, or just trying to be more fit, or how would you say it? Yeah, trying to just get more into the fitness
I think he
overall.
talked about muscle mass.
Muscle mass or lose weight. That would be.
I don't think lose weight would be part
Lose
of
weight would be part of it, yeah.
It would?
Yeah, especially
you're
if we're
sweating more?
following.
No.
If we're following the Soberg principle, yeah, well, you're eliminating or losing and lessening inflammation throughout the body by emptying the lymphatic system, emptying the lymph nodes, as well as speeding up your metabolism. You're triggering your fight or flight response, which is going to, while you're in the sauna, your heart rate's increasing. Whenever you get into the cold, your heart rate lessens, so on and so forth. Many different chain reactions here. You're triggering your adrenal hormones, which will come in and play a role in energy production of ATP, which you might be familiar with for energy stores and usage for bodybuilding. And going from one exercise to the next, you're trying to allow your body to recreate ATP, as well as increasing the body's brown fat and mitochondrial build as well.
Mm-hmm. So there is something to that.
Yeah.
I always tell them, bro, just hit the gym. Stop complaining. Like,
I mean,
I need
true.
both.
That's part of
You
it.
know, they're like, no, you don't. I tell them, you don't need both. Just work out and just maybe do 30-second breaks, and you're gonna sweat like if you're sweating in the sauna. But I think maybe that's like a mental thing, where you're like, I'm in there sweating, so this is working. I'm losing weight. I mean, I've learned now within the last year or two that it's not just about sweating, right? But
It's not
I
just
think
about sweating.
people just feel like if I'm not sweating, I'm not losing weight, or I'm
Well,
not.
if you're just by lifting weights, you're not gonna lose weight.
Correct.
Yeah, it's about calories in, calories out.
Yeah. But I think
It's about calories in, calories out. That
That's
the
the
caloric
primary-
deficit remains king
That's the core
or
thing.
queen, whatever you want
That's
to
what
say.
I'm saying. Like, I think most people would just be like, if I'm sweating, if I'm in the sauna, then I'm gonna lose weight. They don't understand the concept behind it.
Your weight loss primarily is there's not going to be a trick to get away from food, right? There's not going to be you can't outrun your fork, right? As the saying. So need to make sure if you're trying to lose weight that you're within a caloric deficit, period. And
no matter what it is.
What do you mean by that?
So so what I mean by that is, as long as, let's say your number is 1,500 it's kind of low. Let's say 1,800 calories. No matter how it is, as long as you're below 1,800, you'll be good. And the reason I ask that is because there's
like if you just eat a bunch of potato chips, you'll be good.
Yeah, I mean, is that the like? Hey, they said in the podcast, as long as I'm below my calories, I don't matter. I'm gonna eat 2 big things of ice creams and then just starve the rest of the day.
That's not sustainable.
It's not sustainable. Typically, you're going to start experiencing other things, and you could even trigger other symptoms or syndromes. Would you and could you still lose weight? Yes. Is it optimal? No.
No, okay.
You typically want to stay away from refined carbohydrates, sugars, grains. You also want to make sure that you're eating, so on and so forth.
Okay. That's good. Talk to people and they're like, all right, he said 1,500. So that's what I'm saying. But I'm like, whoa, I mean, that's what I've seen. That's what I think. Hey, you said I can eat, 2 steaks and then ice cream the rest of the day, so I should be good.
I will say that there seems to be a lot of confusion nowadays because dietary fads and people going from this to that and this to that. Yeah, and Instagram, it's so many people think you either need to be one way or the other, low carb, low fat, but we know more and more and more and continuously keep proving that is not what's going to make or break your weight loss in general. And there are many, 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 many different studies to prove that. So it's not low carb, low fat that's going to dictate. Actually, weight loss amongst both groups are almost identical, and this is excluding people with diabetes and things of that nature. We can get into that at another point if we want to. But as long as you're within that caloric deficit, eating whole foods, staying away from refined grains, and making sure that you're actually focusing on what would be considered, and most people know, healthy foods.
People know. People know. A lot of times they're like, well, I don't know what you know what to eat. Like, you know what not to eat, and you know what to eat.
When we assess people, that's one of the first things that you know what to eat, don't you?
Yeah.
Do you know if you're eating healthy? Yeah, so tell me was that healthy? No, that wasn't healthy. You know that. So now we need to figure out why you're engaging in these habits and how do we correct that.
And I think what people don't know is that there's alternatives to the bad stuff that you eat.
Oof. That actually tastes good.
Right.
Yes. So many people think it doesn't taste good. Dang it, it tastes good.
Right.
Whichever one of these is looking at me.
And they think that eating a healthy diet means like broccoli and unseasoned chicken and unseasoned tuna and like all these.
Why are they unseasoning? Who's not seasoning their food?
Because it's too much sodium, they say. It's too much sodium.
Forget about calories. That. You need sodium to survive. If you don't have sodium, you're going to die.
But I think that's the main thing. They know if it's planned and there's nothing, that must be healthy. That must be the only way. I think that's the mental thing. And Instagram doesn't help.
Instagram doesn't help.
Doesn't help at all.
The Food Network doesn't help.
No.
It helps if you're in the right algorithm. Like my algorithm feeds me like
it's true.
Another variation of like how to make wings or how to eat a burrito.
But don't overcomplicate things, right?
Yeah,
so live your life. Don't try to follow things so strictly forever that it becomes a stress for you.
Correct.
That's key. If stress is a killer, we all know that. So if you're getting stressed out, and here are a couple of scenarios. If you're going out with your wife or your husband or your friends, and all of a sudden you catch yourself doing this, I can't eat anything here, then you are stressing yourself out way too much over food. Right. You can have everything. You can have your cake and eat it too. Is that the saying?
Yep.
You can have everything you want in life and still get by with where and how you want to live it. We just need to figure out how. And we need to make sure that you have an abundance and tip the scale at the very least being balanced or being tipped a little bit more toward the ideal or perceived health for you than the opposite.
Correct.
And that's what we've been, after we're on episode 29, and we've been trying to find what that is. Like, what is the balance? What is the balanced way an individual should live their lives? Because we see bodybuilders and they look healthy, but they're not, right? So it's like bodybuilding at, 8% body fat, show ready. That's not healthy, right? Like they're living.
Not long term, no.
Right, not long term. But even at the peaks, they should, the peaks are not very healthy.
They're not.
And then at the other spectrum, we have overweight, individuals, that's not healthy, right? So what is the optimal way of living, right? And it's like, oh, somebody that exercises, but then they forget about stretch, fire, and ice. They forget about the recovery. Um, so it's like it seems like it's a whole spectrum of like not a spectrum, but a wheel of different categories like rest, recovery, cardio, strength training, meditation, stress relief, all those aspects of what it means to be a healthy individual.
So let's firstly, stretch, fire, and ice is not a necessary part of life. It's not, period. And it's my company, but it's not a necessity. Movement is a necessity. Breathing is a necessity. Eating is a necessity. Drinking water is a necessity. Cheers to that. So all these things, you figure out what the necessities health-wise of life are, and then are you practicing them and actively engaging in them? And I'm not talking about, yes, I'm alive, I'm breathing. We need to make sure that are you a mouth breather or a nose breather? Are you dropping your diaphragm or are you not dropping your diaphragm? Are you moving? Are you actively moving? And you're with intentional movement, or are you saying, I park, I take the stairs, I do these things. Yeah, sure. Okay, these things are great and I love it. I love the neat concept and it's great, but we need more than that. And optimal is different for everybody. Right. Stop trying to compare yourself to other people. Focus on yourself.
Yeah, optimal, I think, like you said earlier, is for everybody, but there has to be that medium where at least stay here. Like what's optimal for you and me and him is different, but there should be a fine line. Like we can all three do this certain thing that's going to at least keep us at weight or at a healthy spot, or no?
We should at least do certain things. Yes. Right. You should at least have targeted and intentional movement throughout the week. Now, I'm trying to really refrain from using, averages, what, the American Heart Association tells you to do, and all
those guys.
Because the pyramid.
Those guys.
Where cereal is more important than steak and chicken.
Man.
I don't want to put a target for people because it's not going to fit everybody's current lifestyle.
Correct.
So even if you're getting 5 to 10 minutes of intentional movement throughout the day, that you're going through specific patterns, especially if you have certain goals, and maybe your goal is just pain relief, then we'll go through specific patterns. And if you're focusing on controlling your stress, because escaping stress it's impossible.
How do you do that?
Control it?
Like escape stress. How do you have a stress-free life?
Stressed out.
It's impossible to have a stress-free life, but it is possible to maintain control over it versus allowing it to control you.
Right. Or methods to not let it overcome you,
It's like, how do you cope with life? Right. That's kind of like
that's the ultimate battle.
Right. It's like coping with the stressors and coping with physics, because that's what I've narrowed it down to, is just physics. The weight of yourself. How do you manage that?
I think that's a lot of times when people come downstairs, and they'll ask certain questions. I'm like, what are you doing? So there's like this one lady, she's lost I think 70 pounds within the last year, and then it's like, well, so what are you doing different? She's like, well, now during lunch I just take the stairs up, and then I take the stairs down, and then I take the stairs up, and then I take the stairs down. And I sometimes I tell people that, right, because they're like, man, right, I'm ready to go to the gym. I'm gonna go 7 days a week. I'm ready. I'm like, whoa,
that's not where it's
like,
at.
Yeah, like slow down. Do a few extra things. Walk around your neighborhood for a week, and then jog around your neighborhood for 2 weeks, and then start running around.
Park further away from the store. Use the
so
stairs.
It's like small things like that. And I feel like people sometimes want to go to the extreme. And I think going to the extreme a week into it, you're tired, you're exhausted. You're like, screw this. Let me go grab a burger.
But the extreme's what gets publicized.
Correct.
That's what you see on social media. Yeah, that's the cool thing. It's what you see in a lot of magazines also, depending upon what you read. But it's the little day-to-day things. It's the little steps in between. It's building these habits.
Correct. That's the main thing. And that's why a lot of times people will tell me, like, Ray, you really eat like that? Like, all the time? I'm like, well, I'm used to it. So when I do go to a restaurant, I'm still going to have maybe a taco, but instead of 5, I'm going to have 2, and I'm going to drink water, and I'm not going to eat the chips. So it's like, it's still the same thing, except before it was like 6 tacos with chips and queso, and then Coke, bring this, a Coke. Well, Coke's never been my thing. Sprite, sir. Sponsor. Sprite, reach out. But that's the main thing. And I think a lot of times people try to go too extreme. And it's like, like meal preps, I love them and all that, but it's like, are you gonna meal prep when you go on vacation for a week? Are you gonna like, you spend 3 months to get ready for that vacation, then you're gonna kill it in that week and a half, and then you're gonna come back probably not eating good again, and then it's like you're back to where you started. But if you make those decisions now, while you're on your vacation, you're making better decisions on what you're eating because now you're used to it.
And if you're meal prepping now until you go on vacation, that's fine too. But see, there's no one size fits all thing.
Correct.
When I sit and I talk to people. So our initial intake is a 2 to 3 hour process.
So I come in, I'm like, hey, I'm here. I saw you on the podcast. Help me out. I'm trying to lose weight. Where do we start? Where do we go?
We start by getting to know you. Okay. I start to figure out what you have experience with, what your day-to-day life's like, where your stress levels are at, how you're sleeping, what do you do for a living, how do you feel about that? And usually people underestimate or overestimate. Usually they underestimate their levels of stress. So I figure that out. And then we figure out, okay, how can we start to incorporate changes? I typically look at movement, food, stress, breathing. I'm assessing people's breathing while they're initially sitting there, if they're breathing in through their chest. Yeah.
Question, how is our breathing while we've been here?
I haven't been paying attention to your breathing while we've been here.
Don't you have a chart, like an assessment chart where you have like, I don't know if I've seen this in one of your posts, or where you have like an assessment chart where it's like, okay, breathing, posture.
Was this a video that you saw?
I think so.
Yeah, so that's our, so yeah, we do indirect calorimetry, and that is assessing that. Yes, we're assessing the way that you breathe, how much oxygen and how much carbon dioxide is going in, going out, and we're figuring out a bunch of stuff through that.
I need to. You got me like self-conscious over here.
No, you're thinking about your breathing. But
see,
so
look at your posture. You've been like a board this whole time, and I'm over here like
I'm moving.
I will say
I'm deflating.
I'll be at the office and I'll see this guy like this.
Dude, just sit on the edge of your chair.
I'll push him. Like,
get out of the chair. Just sit on the edge, like you're at a baseball game for the first time in the bleachers, waiting for the ball.
I have to work like 8 hours.
Okay, do it until you get tired of doing it, and then switch. Get up. You shouldn't be sitting for 8 hours. If you're sitting in one spot for 8 hours, no. Well, you're a slave to yourself at that point.
Yeah, he is a slave
to myself.
To himself. But yeah, no, I'll tell him, and that's one thing that I
just because in college, that's all I did. It's like I worked like that.
So you just gotta stay that way. It's just
no,
it is who you are.
It's not. It's just a bad
habit. Did you put a ceiling on yourself?
Yeah.
No, it's a bad habit. It's a bad habit.
You sound like a lot of people. Like it's just what I've always done. I've just always grabbed burgers. I've just.
Do you want to do that? Do you want to do that? Do you feel like it's a problem?
I like doing it.
What do you like doing?
I like working like that. It's relaxing.
Like working like this?
That's not how I work.
That's what he said.
That's what he showed, but that's not how I do it.
Have I not at least?
Let me show you what I do.
Show me how you do it.
So I have my laptop like this.
Sometimes, but then like you do fade into this.
Yeah.
Over time.
A few times I've come and I'm like, hey.
Okay, so this is the easiest way to go about this. All right. Do you feel like you have any hip tension?
Oh, my hips are terrible.
The hips are terrible. Okay. Do you ever experience low back pain?
Oh yeah, that's horrible.
Are your bowel movements good? Do they feel solid?
Are you pooping
they're
pretty good?
Pretty solid, yeah.
Okay. Do you ever get any headaches? Do you wake up? Do you snore?
All the time.
Okay, all the time.
Check.
So as we're starting to go down, it's pretty simple. Okay, so yeah, we need to do some postural work, and we need to start getting you a little bit out of that. Oh, and you probably have some breath work patterns that need to be worked on.
Well, I have a bad what's it called?
Nose?
The inside of your nose.
You got a septum?
Yep. So when I go to sleep, I have to use nose strips.
Yeah, I noticed you took a big deep breath. It was right into your chest.
Yeah.
We're totally judging right now.
No, it's fine.
It's good.
No, so one of the first things you can do to start to
that's
just
how you start
fixing
stuff. Go ahead.
Yeah, you work on your posture, and then while you're lying down in bed before you fall asleep, and as you wake up, you can place one hand on your chest, one hand on your belly, right below the ribs. And as you take a deep breath, and we're going to do in and out of the nose, slow. As you breathe in, you want to feel the lower hand rise or elevate.
Sorry,
and as you breathe out through the nose, you want to feel the hand sink in just a little bit.
I'm going to need to replay this because I'm already lost.
And then you start doing that. Your cortisol levels are going to drop. A lot of other things are going to start
chair's
happening.
Not very,
so the chest should not move.
The chest should be far down the road as secondary. The very first initial part that should move should be right where that hand was, right at the bottom end of the rib cage. That's our start, right? We can take this to many other places and locations as far as breath work goes, but that's For the most part, step number one. No, he can keep doing it. It feels good.
Yeah, we'll need to we'll need to go over to your gym and then get all this done right.
Yes. Come do it. Come check out Stretch Fire and Ice.
We'll have to check it out for sure.
We go through different breathwork practices with every person during the process.
I like it. And I think it's because, some of the things maybe people don't think about. Like you said, it's just like you said earlier, just through college. It's just what it's always been.
It's just like your body adapted to that. It doesn't mean it's always going to stay that way, but it's like that's what was.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do we get out of that? And you just like told me, okay, this, and this. Sit on. I'm like,
go ahead. Sit on the edge.
I'm walking with a board in my back.
There you go. Does that feel different?
Feels unstable.
Well, that's your chair.
That's a chair. We need better chairs. But no, yeah, I try to do that even on my son, and he hates it because he'll be standing like, "Hey man, what are you doing?" And he's like, "All right."
Stand up straight.
But I will say, I noticed when he was younger, he started to like get that hunchback almost. And one time he mentioned it. He's like, "Hey Dad, like, what?" I'm like, "Because you're always like this, bro. Like, you gotta get up." And I think the phone doesn't help. The tablets, working, sitting down all the time. That's why forever. Shout out to the wifey. She got me that desk that stands up.
So she got the standing desk. I got that for my wifey.
Well, she got it from me. But I was like, heck yeah. So I love it. And sometimes I don't even notice. Like I'm like, oh shit, I've been standing for like an hour now. But yeah, it's pretty good. But I think it's just habits. And even me, even though I feel like I'm always straight up, sometimes I do catch myself like, oh shit.
I gotta straighten up. I gotta sit up and stand tall.
Straighten up, yeah. And you have to, especially as a business owner, bro. You can't just be like, hi.
I mean, you could, but I mean, it all depends.
Here do you do your logo?
That's not what I do.
It might be if that's how he sees you.
Sometimes it is like that, but I think that goes into like workouts and all that helps you out too, right? Because then you automatically have better posture when you're working out, when you're walking.
No, not automatically. No. A lot of people, especially if they already have some sort of postural issue, they typically maintain that during the workout as well.
Oh yeah, my when I squat, it's like my whole left hip and my whole left leg. But that's because of, weak legs. And
yo, hold up. No, it's not. Weak legs while being balanced and even would mean that you would have said my right and my legs. You wanted to just isolated lefty over there, like throwing him under the bus. Yeah, my left leg and my whole left leg. And I heard nothing about the right.
So that leg's good.
So that's a problem.
That's a problem.
That is a problem.
You want to correct that because eventually that could lead to something else.
Right. What could it lead to? Tell me now.
It could lead to a number of things. It could eventually lead to you feeling some sciatic pain. It could lead to some shoulder pain, neck pain, herniated.
Oh, I already have all those, so we're good.
So that's true, right? Because I'm no doctor or nothing like that. But when people come in looking for CBD or like pain management stuff, and they're like, "Oh, my pain's here." And I'm like, okay, so, do it here, but it could be coming like from your lower back or like, add some there, and some customers will tell me. And that's just what I've learned from customers, right? I'm not a doctor or nothing, right? But they'll be like, yeah, like, and then it goes down to my leg. I'm like, okay, so then just try it right here. And they're like, hey, you know what? It does like, so I'm like, hey, so all that's connected somehow. So I'm learning. See?
So a lot of it's connected through fascia, which is just like this spider web or this glue that goes all throughout the body, holding the muscle, the organs, the joints, and all that fun stuff together. Mm-hmm. So it's different type of tissue, right? It's the white, long, web-like looking tissue that's holding and connecting everything. So there is fascial therapy, and we also perform that, and there is Aldoa and other things to help with spinal decompression, joint pain, and that whole fun connection from the foot to the pelvic floor or the foot to the neck as well.
So they say, like, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know.
Yeah, I ain't on that.
So it's like, I'm pretty savvy in terms of, like, wellness and fitness and all that, but I don't know a lot. And every time I talk to somebody, I'm like, oh, I didn't know any of that.
Right.
But what about the people that don't educate themselves on anything, right? They're walking around. And I was thinking about that. Everybody in the gym doing all the things that they do, but they don't do, like, recovery, stretch, diet, nutrition.
Focus on recovery. Do that. That should be at least half of whatever it is that you're doing. If you're working out 90 minutes a week, you should be taking 45 minutes minimum a week of recovery.
What does that look like?
Depends on the person. And it also looks like whatever they're actually going to do.
What do you mean by that? Like, what looks like they're going to be?
if they enjoy meditation more, if they're like, for instance, if you tell me you're going to meditate, I expect you to meditate. If you're not going to do it, then tell me you're going to do something else that falls under the recovery line. If you're
Like
going to stretch, yoga,
or like, you know,
if you're going to eat better, eat well, focus on your breathing. If you're actually going to do that breath pattern routine, you know, in bed or lying on the floor or any of those times, it's whatever you're actually going to do. Same thing for if you're going to say just do it.
Or like cardio, right? Like you have cycling, treadmill, running, swimming, all these.
What's the best form of cardio? The cardio that you're actually going to do.
Oof.
What's the best form of workout? The workout that you're actually going to do. Oof. What's the best way to eat healthy food? What are the healthy foods that you're actually going to eat?
Right. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, do it.
Okay.
You do it.
So I'm good.
No,
I'm down like 7 pounds.
We haven't even analyzed you yet.
You don't need to. Like, look, my posture, my breathing, my breath. My breath is
He's
good.
been redirecting toward you while he slowly fixes himself.
Yeah, see? Yeah, gotta push it off so people don't look at me. But yeah, I think all that's very, very important. I think I'm learning a lot.
I'm gonna look at my posture at the beginning, and then I'm gonna look at my posture at the end.
Yeah.
Well, right now it's a lot better.
We'll go look at episode 1 and 2.
Yeah, but because my leg is holding up everything.
Yeah, your left leg?
I have it like wrapped around the chair because not I'll fall.
Yeah, and that's one thing. That's why I always I like to cross my arms, and it helps me stay forward, stay up. But that's good, man. We're learning a lot, and I think that's the important part is just we think we know, like you said, right? Because we work out or we see things on Instagram or whatever, but we don't know. Like, I never even thought about my breathing. Well, actually, I thought about it once because I saw a study that if you sleep and you breathe with your mouth while you sleep, you might wake up more tired, more groggy or something like that. But if you
that's why there's like medical tape that you can put and then
some of those ads are kind of freaky, aren't they? One's called hostage tape, and it freaks me out.
Jesus.
And when you start typing in breath work and and studies over nose breathing, mouth breathing, all of a sudden Facebook starts throwing these ads,
algorithms,
and then hostage tape pops up for the first time. I'm like, whoa! I felt like I was on a watch list.
Damn.
I am not. No, that's a bad name in my opinion.
Do not show me this type of post.
Show me this part. Dang, that's crazy. So if anybody that's looking to better recover, right, that doesn't recover at all, doesn't do no recovery, no stretching, no fire, no ice, what would be the one like, hey, start here? I know there's no norm, but just be like.
If I had to pick one, I would honestly start with breathing, trying to focus on proper breathing. Breathing's something that you do over 20,000 times a day, and you can look at studies and actually, and I've done this with people as well, you can help cure and reverse diabetes simply through proper breath work practice. So to give you the power of that, you can look that up, you can Google it, you can look at studies. They're very, very, very efficient. And along with many, many other things, I've had somebody's A1C levels drop drastically down. They weren't going to adjust their food, they weren't going to exercise, but they would breathe. And we got their A1C levels down into a normal range, along with their blood glucose levels.
That's awesome.
By only practicing breathing. It is an extremely powerful tool. If you're squatting and you're doing other things as far as the workout capacity goes, you're already getting range of motion through your joints and through your tissue. You're using it. So now, how can we help with that, and how can we help you recover faster and make sure that your body doesn't degrade and doesn't age as quickly? Breath. Focus on your breath.
Yeah, because I'm actually 19, but I look 35.
I knew it. I knew it.
37.
You look 40.
Yeah, I do look 40. But that's very important. Two things I want to bring up with breathing. Also, like understanding your breathing. I think when my daughter, and as I've talked to people about this, they've told me that's kind of the same thing. Where if you don't control your breathing, you might take something that you're thinking about to a higher level, stress level, because you're. So that just not breathing right when you're stressing or when you're going through like working out or cardio, that makes it go worse, right? So like my daughter was in the ER like last week, and the doctor's like, look, first control your breathing, relax, calm down, because that pain you're feeling that's a 10 is probably a 5, but you're making it a 10 by overthinking. And then 2, once I started doing jujitsu and I have a 300-pound man on top of me.
Whoa. Oh, you really have to control your breathing.
Yes. Yeah. So then, a lot of times they're like, hey, control your breathing. I'm like, I'm like, those guys don't, but now that I've learned, I'm like, okay, so now that you're saying that, it brought me back to that, like, hey, the trainer he
And
knew
you
what he
feel
was talking
calm,
about. And yeah,
yeah. Same thing if you're in a rear naked choke. You're really having to focus on your breathing to
correct,
not freak out.
correct,
And
correct.
it's valuable lessons learned. And real similar, like I can equate that to getting into a cold tub. Whenever you do, your body, right, stress responses, adrenal responses go through the roof, right? Adrenaline, noradrenaline, dopamine, cortisol, they all go up. But as we start going through breath practice and drills, we're using your breath to combat that and to learn how to regulate. Very similarly to jujitsu, as you're undergoing and you're having that stress response, the first instinct is to freak out, to not breathe, or to not know how to breathe. It takes a next level of consciousness to be in that stress position, like an anaconda's choking your throat, and actually teach the body to remain calm.
Yes,
And this can apply to day-to-day life and business experience
Right.
as well.
that's so smart, and it's true because sometimes people will have me there, and they're like, "Great," I'm like, "Okay, I'm not dead. I'm relaxing. I'm like, trying to
I'm in
move.
control.
I'm trying
I
to
got
move."
this.
But yeah, at first, as soon as they got my throat, get me out of here, tap, tap, tap. So it makes a
But
lot of sense.
these are like uh, simulated um, simulated environments. You know, like there's moments, and we've talked to guests that it's like, well, there's actually real life. You're about to get killed, right? And they still practice these exercises of like staying calm, being precise. Like those are the things that are gonna keep them alive.
Yeah.
So even like you think, oh well, this is just like racing. Oh, I'm calm in this choke, and you know, in real life, if somebody was trying to do that, that's what's gonna get you
The difference.
the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
It
pretty
is.
sure like police officers and some of these people have to practice things like that because they need to be calm in a high
Stress.
High stress environment. Yeah, you need to
environment.
problem solve at the same time.
You have to, yeah. And I think that, and I've told this, I don't know, told it here, but before, like one time the store in Houston got robbed, and I got there right before, or right when the person was getting out, right. So I think the fact that I was been doing jujitsu and I've learned to kind of stay calm through certain things, right, helped me stay calm when I had her in front of me, and I was like, maybe the old Ray would have like came out and just shot and be like, oh shit, what I do? But this one, I was just like calm, like watching, looking, like analyzing the situation, even though it's a high intense situation, but breathing, that makes a
Breathing.
lot of sense.
Extremely powerful tool. It really is.
We forget about it.
We underestimate it because we're all. I mean, people just simply, like the day-to-day person associates it with life. I'm living. I'm breathing. I must be doing it right because I'm alive, right?
Right. I
But
haven't died.
yeah, exactly. But it's not quite that simple. It doesn't need to be overcomplicated, but it's not quite that simple.
And it's the traditional in through the nose, out through the mouth. For the most part, no? Oh,
No.
jeez.
Like on a day-to-day, in a normal situation, you want to be breathing in and out of your nose. And you want to try to breathe in and out of your nose for relatively as long as possible, even through mild to moderate exercise. As you start to get into moderate exercise, then it'd be, heart rate's a good way to be able to tell this for anybody that's listening. If you're running on the treadmill or performing any type of exercise, can you talk in sentences without having to take an extra breath or take a little pause or a break? If so, now we're entering relatively a moderate exercise. Now let's breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth.
Okay.
And then as it gets higher, moderate, high, or high intensity, now once we get to high intensity, we're doing a combination. Nose, mouth, and tongue acts as like a little flappers and in between to guide. But a lot of this is just, parasympathetic and sympathetic. We want to make sure that the majority, and this comes back to recovery, work in, work out, that the majority of our breath work, or the way that we go throughout life, is engaging our parasympathetic system, which is, think of relaxation response, the way that we breathe, and your sympathetic breathing, which would be mouth, then think of that as our nose, mouth, as how you're running away from a bear in the woods. High stress area versus low stress area. And you can, as far as problem solving goes for exercise, if anybody wants to get better at that under high stressful situations, not everyone's going to get into a cold tub, but the same situation applies, right? We're looking at eustress or hormesis. So it's self-induced, stress that is for a positive benefit. And as you're doing high or HIIT training, like you do every now and then, you can take a moment during that slight rest period and you can write down. Write down your goals for the day, your goals for the week. And under that stress, it's much more difficult, especially once you run out of like these pre-thought out ideas. Now you're having to think. You're having to critically think in a high-stressed environment. And it's a great way to train your brain, and it's a great way to train yourself for life.
That's cool. That's a cool technique. Yeah.
You don't do high intensity work.
I used to, but not anymore. I stay under I can speak while I do, like that what you said. Like if you can talk while you're exercising, that's where I stay. I don't go above.
It's a bunch of talking when you guys go to the gym.
I don't go above the the super high intensity stuff.
How come?
I just don't.
So it's good to fluctuate. It's good to have
those
diversity. Yeah, it doesn't have to be something that you say, if it does, especially if it doesn't sound appealing. It doesn't need to be something that you do for 4 to 8 weeks. But every now and then it's great, just like training to failure.
During playing soccer, those high intensity sprints back and forth. Or
did you enjoy it?
Yeah, that's what I enjoy the most of. If I could, I would only play soccer. I wouldn't do any other exercise. But of course,
because of his left leg,
he can't.
So for muscle gaining purposes, because you said you were trying to increase strength.
No, that wasn't the goal.
That was you. What's your goal?
My goal is to stay. Jinx. My goal is to find.
You owe me a Sprite.
My personal goal is to find the balance of like being lean, being flexible, which that's probably not even close to what I want to do.
My goal is nothing I'm close to.
Yeah, that is, because if not, it wouldn't be your goal.
Okay,
right?
You want to be lean, flexible,
muscle mass, recovery. Might do like therapy on my knees because I have like 4 surgeries on one knee.
The left one?
Yeah, the left one.
That's another thing that squat pattern could lead to, by the way.
Right.
Uneven wear and tear in the knee. But keep going.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. So my goal is to walk as long as possible, longevity,
So you want life longevity. What I'm gathering, you want a balanced overall rounded aspect of health.
Yeah, I want to be Captain America.
Captain America is what he wants to be.
Okay, so what are you doing to accomplish that?
So I'm doing this program called Knees Over Toes. I don't know if you've ever heard about it. Yeah, I'm doing that program. I'm like on month something.
How's it treating you?
It's good. My squat's gone up because of that. My muscle mass on my left leg has gone up. Pain? I don't have knee pain. I don't have knee pain, but it is like you can see the imbalance between my legs because of the atrophy of so many years of not, focusing on it.
So Knees Over Toes is a great program, and I've recommended it many times. Now, if your pelvis is out of alignment or anything along those lines, or if you have some alignment issues or some fascial discourse going on, then certain things and certain wear and tear and that unevenness might not correct itself as efficiently as it could without doing that. And
you would need like special, like maybe what would you need, like a chiropractor? Or
a chiropractor can definitely help, especially if you're focusing on your tissue work and your exercise yourself. Self-induced spinal decompression and pelvic alignment can also help.
Like hanging upside down? Is that what that means?
No, not necessarily. So we go through a process called LDOA, which is where we use connective tissue to help with alignment and decompression, and getting into certain poses where you're trying to get your pelvis aligned and what does that feel like. And you'll soon realize going from side to side that the two are very uncomparable to each other. Right. So going through things like that and utilizing the connective or the fascial system to help with that as well. There's a number of ways to skin the cat.
Sign this guy up. Where do we sign?
No,
sign him up.
It's too much work.
It's not a lot of work.
See, so this is the traditional people. It's too much work to eat good. It's too much work to work out. It's too much work. So I'm just gonna stay with my pain and my issues.
That's it.
So we can push, we can push, and we can push, and that'll work for some people. But figuring out where your line is, where your line in the sand's at, figuring out what is too much for you to incorporate and what is enough. How can we be on the side of that line that will get you to actually do some things?
I'm just playing the devil's advocate, you know, like that's what somebody would say. It's like, no, it's too much work, it's too much of this, it's too much of that. But that's the reality of what the human experience is. Like, people don't want to lose weight, people don't want to get better, even though they know the process. So is it individual motivation? Is it like something that everybody can help get this person to?
It starts with motivation. Yeah. Just like the golden circle with Simon Sinek, it starts with why. A lot of people say it's all about, firstly, let's get away from this thought of it's all about one thing, because nothing in life, very, very few things in life are all about one thing. And it might be about one thing for you, but
Like
you're on a different
like a
point in the
why,
stream.
like a reason, like is that?
It
is
could
that the
be
one
all
thing?
about discipline. It could be all about determination. It could
okay.
be all about focus. It could be all about why or purpose.
I agree.
Where are you at in the stream? Are you struggling to find your motivation, or do you already have it? Are you lacking discipline, or are you lacking
Right.
motivation? Where are we at? Where do we need to begin? What's the start point for you? And that's different for you, for me, for him, for everybody else. Identifying that and beginning there and finding repetition and consistency with that point will get you to the next step on the ladder.
I like that.
I like
Yeah,
this guy.
because this guy, his one thing is different than my one thing, and it's not just one thing, like you said. It's a lot of things.
Multiple things
Yeah, but people want to narrow it down to like, oh, it's my thing. Like, your motivation
has to
has
motivate me.
Yeah, and it's like has to reflect mine, and my discipline has to reflect. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, yeah.
it's all about discipline. Like, do it whether you feel like it or not.
That's the hard part.
It's like, but it started with a feeling, right? It all started with you wanting.
And now, how do you get to the want,
Right.
right? Now, how do you, because there's times where you know your why and you know why you're motivated, and maybe you're able to keep that for a certain amount of time, but you've lost focus and maybe you've forgotten. So what are you doing to make sure that you are constantly reminded of your why? Whatever that may be, whatever it is, put it in front of you. Put it at your work desk. Put it in your car. Put it at home. Put it by your bedside. Put that everywhere, as many places as you can, so you constantly remind yourself, especially as you're starting to give up. I remember, no, that's why I'm doing it.
That's why.
I like that.
I like that. Put it right on your mirror.
Mm-hmm.
As my buddy does.
Write it on your mirror every time you go into the
Yeah,
bathroom.
it's gonna be right there. Permanent marker, just so when the cleaning lady comes, she doesn't clean it off.
Yeah.
Permanent marker.
I
Gotta
like
do
that.
it.
Yep.
So what's gonna be yours?
Oh, mine. I'm
Give us
gonna
one.
try to do that. You know, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna remind myself like why, and I'm gonna focus on individual aspects of it and have a plan for every single one of them,
Perfect.
and start with
Be
the
smart.
basics.
Get back to the basics.
Yep.
We've been doing that for the last
Basic.
year and a half.
Hey, the basics will take you far.
far, yeah.
Yep.
You don't. So I don't have to go extreme like what I see on Instagram.
No, you don't have. It
I don't have to
depends.
go run 12 miles a day every day.
No,
rain or
you don't
shine.
have to. No, you
Just
don't have to
super
do
high
it. Firstly, you
intensity
don't have to do
kettlebells.
anything. If you want to do that, then and that's a goal, then yeah, you're gonna have to do that because that's your goal. And I mean, you can't achieve that goal without doing it, right?
Right. Plan. You gotta plan it out. I like this.
Because 12 miles is so specific.
It's a half a marathon.
Yeah. I
Half
need to.
marathon, also
want,
specific.
I want to do that Spartan race in April. I don't know how I'm gonna do it because I haven't even ran.
Spartan race, specific. Well, you're gonna start running.
I mean, I run already, kind of. I
Well, what's
referee.
kind of
I
running?
referee soccer, so I run about 7. I do about 14 miles a week.
Wow,
Okay.
that's a lot.
Seven, about 6 to 7 a day, and I do 2 days a week.
But a lot of it is walking, isn't it? Walking and stopping.
Well, you might
Okay,
be
I would say do
fast-paced
half,
walking.
half. Well, I mean, I like to. So I guess yeah, it makes sense what you're saying. Because some referees, I'll see them and they just kind of stand in the middle. But I like to be right
we had
there.
a ref that would just look left and look
Yeah.
right, and they would make a call, and then you would have to wait about 5 minutes for him,
to get there.
and be like, okay, this is what I saw
way
way
over
on
there.
yonder.
No, you got to keep up with the ball.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I like to keep up. I mean, that is why I do it, because that is my cardio. I see it as I get paid to do cardio,
I like
and
it.
I like to be in the action. Today I'll be in Montgomery. Shout out if you guys want to go see me in Montgomery. I'll be in Montgomery today. But yeah, man, I think we've learned a lot today. I think the main thing is just one, your breathing.
Breathing.
I think what I've learned
posture.
today the most is breathing. Like I need
The
to
power.
the power of breathing, and it makes sense now that you put it in a very good perspective. What everybody else has taught me as far as control your breathing makes sense why they were telling me that, and I think I've learned that, and I need to recover more. I think that's one of my main things is do some more of that stuff. Maybe I don't know about sleep more. So he just killed you guys because he said my sleep is perfectly fine.
No,
So you
he
guys
said
need to
your
stop
sleep is individual.
stop judging me.
Your sleep is individualized.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
to me,
and then you passing out in the middle of nothing and saying that you're okay, then that's not
Like
right.
yesterday.
If that's happening, that ain't right.
like Tuesday.
I was
I
like,
have a feeling you're not being,
So-
up front, man.
I was like, where's this guy? And he walks out. I'm like, where were you for the past 2 hours? He's like, oh, I was asleep.
Yeah, I took a little nap, a little power nap.
2 hours is not a power nap.
No, it was
That's
an
a
hour.
whole
It was an hour.
sleep.
I got a feeling I'd find out a whole lot about you.
Yeah, it was an hour.
You found out a whole lot about me that I didn't.
It was an hour, but that's what I'm saying. I can function. He said as long as I can function throughout my day, my business is growing.
Whoa.
I'm growing.
like, why
You're missing words.
Oh, damn it. We'll replay this and see what he said. But no, I think I've learned a lot. So my sleep is good. So you guys stop bullying me, please.
If he wasn't upfront about everything during this podcast, get back on him.
Yeah,
Don't let him try to control that situation.
True. No, I think I sleep pretty good. I slept 6 hours last night. I was up here to poker. I slept 6 hours. Feel good.
I slept 6 hours. I woke up. I was still singing. I was good.
Right.
It's.
I think the worst part is when I do sleep 8 hours, I wake up miserable.
Lots of reasons for that, but wherever you, ultradian cycle. So there's these 90-minute quote unquote windows.
Up at the wrong
You could
cycle.
interrupt it. And if you're getting 8 hours, and maybe another simple one is maybe you simply don't need it. Period. Maybe it's too much. Maybe you function better on 6.
Maybe
7. You can experiment with yourself, or don't.
He does that.
I do that a lot.
It's
a lot. I challenge myself to a lot of things.
Truly, if there's not an issue going on, period, and you got to be honest with yourself, not me, not him, because you could either be the best version of yourself or you could be the not best version of yourself.
I need to become the better version of myself. I think I'm the best now, but there's always better.
There's always better, but are you at the best at this moment? Are you doing everything that you know and are aware of at this moment that you are capable of doing? As we talked about, like during the, I don't know if we were live there, little steps with the podcast, right? You're adding in what you can handle at this point in time.
Correct.
Right? There's some people that say maintenance isn't a good thing, and there's some people that say that it is. I'm of the mindset of there's going to be times that you maintain things, and there's going to be times that you're growing other things, because maintenance does not mean that you're standing still.
Correct.
You're trying to maintain consistency with the podcast at this level. And then you're going to scale and you're going to grow once that has balanced and once you've achieved that. Once you've achieved that goal, you're going to throw in another adaptation of growth.
Right.
And then you're going to maintain that. So that way you have consistency.
I see what you're saying.
And the same thing goes with your health. What can you add in? Don't try to add in so much that you overwhelm yourself, because that can turn into a negative thing.
Right.
Take what is comfortably implementable to adapt and achieve growth for your health, comfortably implementable, and then go from there. Maintain that. Become consistent with it. And once you feel capable of adding in another thing, add it. But make sure that you're constantly recognizing when you're capable of adding more. Don't get complacent. That's where you have complacency.
That's a big thing.
And that's what David Goggins says. It's like, what you're capable of. Like, like whenever you're living the dream? No, like leaving the gym.
If you really
worked out or you didn't. You
Yeah.
know? Like, whether whenever you're lifting, you're like, oh, I could do more. Or like you have to be at the edge of like what it means for you to push yourself.
So I love David Goggins, and I love that saying, but I also think that can get also taken to an extreme. Like, a lot of people fail every time that they go to the gym. Like, they push everything to failure, every set, every exercise, and that would be considered, that would fall under that. I left nothing on the table.
Right.
I gave it everything that I had. But a lot of times, especially for growth and sustainable growth with minimal risk of injury, you're trying to butt up against that, right? You're trying to stay somewhere like around 1 to 3 reps in reserve.
I agree. Yeah. So it's like, when does it become a mental game and when does it become a physical game, right? It's like pushing your body to the limit to where it can't recover and it starts to get injured and it starts to, hurt you instead of help you. It's like, you have to know whenever it's like, okay, if I cross this line, it's injury line. Or is it, just a mental block?
And figuring out where that line is important too, and that can be
hard.
extremely beneficial. So that's where going to failure is also a key. You want to know where's your fail, where's that moment. Okay, now I know, and now I know, but track it. How many reps was it? How much weight is it?
I think
Tracking
that's it right
everything.
there. Tracking.
If you don't track,
I
it's
used to
almost
track
impossible
everything.
to
Now I
have
don't
progressive
track
overload.
anything.
Yeah, that's what's been key for me the last. I think the thing just told me I'm on week 9 of tracking my stuff, and I think that's what helped me because I would go there and I would be like, I think I could do 120, and I'd be like, oh shit, I did 15. Damn it, I could have done more. And then sometimes I go, I'm like, oh, okay, I think I could do 150. I'm like, oh shit, no, I can't. So now that I'm tracking it, I'm able to see, and I love this app because it'll tell me like, oh, PR today you did, an extra 5 pounds of whatever,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay, so.
I'm going to have to go.
Okay.
Of course.
All right, guys. Well, thanks everybody that stopped by. Real quick, where can they find you? Your Instagrams?
Instagram is the OC Wellness, and Instagram is Stretch Fire and Ice. Facebook, the OC Wellness. Facebook, Stretch Fire Ice. Follow, like, share, tag. Follow these guys. Tag them, share them. Hit it up.
We'll be there. Thanks, guys. See y'all next week.
Bye.